Hello, everybody. My name is Len Bayer, and today I'm talking to a Renaissance man who doesn't concern himself with the law of humans, but rather with the laws of the universe and our place in it. He's an author of an iconic book, Project Soul Catcher, and someone uh, whom I'm delighted to call my friend. Without further ado, Robert Duncan.
Well, thank you. That was a wonderful, unique introduction I've never heard before.
I
Um,
worked on it hard.
yeah, Len and I know each other from several events, and it's good to be on your show, your podcast, and hopefully we can cover some new material and some offer some new ideas and suggestions for those who are being unfortunately targeted and tortured without the media or the government acknowledging it on the most part.
Right. Last time uh, we met in person, we were on Danny Jones' podcast called Concrete Podcast in Florida in October of last year. That show made some serious waves throughout the interwebs. You are one of the most sought out speakers on the subject of cybernetics and cognitive warfare. And I understand that recently you made a life-changing decision to leave Facebook and join Twitter, which not so long ago has been liberated by Elon Musk from the shackles of state propaganda. So tell us about this transition of yours and what was the straw that broke the camel's back?
Yeah, that's the thing. There were many episodes. I've been harassed over insignificant comments that I made out of context and shut down, put in prison. I felt like a political prisoner. What I have to say can save lives, but they don't care about that. They're just cared about some off the cuff comment. Um, Lately, it's just been it's a machine. There's no customer service. You can't contact a human being, and it's become a politicized propaganda machine. And um, anyway, so I moved to Twitter to focus my energies, and my alias, since my name was taken many times, my alias is Tim, as in Timothy, underscore E, as in Emerson, underscore Lord, the loaf bringer, one who cares about humanity. um, if you want to follow me, search for me. Please be my guest. I want to build a good audience there and share my knowledge in sound bites. I'm unverified, so I think I can write longer posts. Is what they said of you're verified, but I'm new to the platform, so I'm just learning how to use it.
Yeah, I want to officially welcome you to Twitter. You'll get followers, and I uh, um, confirm that team at team underscore E underscore Lord is indeed Robert's handle on Twitter. So please subscribe, please follow. And it is a slightly different platform than Facebook, but I think you're going to like it. It has its own quirks, yet some limitations, but you can do longer tweets and serial tweets and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I noticed that lately you have been um, talking about an area that I have a personal professional interest in, and this is an aspect of central nervous system that concerns the propagation of electromagnetic signals throughout the brain. Tell us about your tweet, and maybe we can have a little discussion.
Sure. I was following through with some theoretical work, and I work on ANNs, artificial neural networks, and try to bring the applied theory, try to prove that certain things are possible. And the latest research I was doing from a biophysics point of view was what happens during demyelinization of the brain cells. Now, I want to break a common myth, and that is we only use 10% of our brain. Now, the person who said that and came up with that makes it sound like we're not using 90%. The actual reason they said that is because 90% of it is composed of glial cells in the brain, which they don't know all the specifics, but the main purpose of them is to act as an insulator for conductance. And so I was doing some simulations of it. What would happen if you started demyelinating the axons of nerve cells, neurons in the brain? And what I found was it lowers the threshold of which an external signal can be inserted in a timed way to send the signal forward. Now, in the microcircuits and macrocircuits of the brain, it's opening a window of opportunity to literally insert a new personality, really. So the theory goes, what causes demyelinization of cells? And, a number of drugs can do it. Free radicals, a lot of stress. And the big one that I thought was interesting is sleep deprivation. That is what all TIs, brainwashing methods incorporate. So the target is more susceptible to, for example, electromagnetic neural weapons or to suggestion. And so many TIs go through horrible sleep deprivation, and it causes free radicals, it causes the stress hormones, which then causes demyelination. So it's a theory of why that type of torture is done to the targets, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. The one aspect that you haven't mentioned in the process of demyelinization is neuroinflammation, and it's of course it's connected to the overproduction of free radicals, but the exposure to directed energy itself produces demyelinization and neuroinflammation, as well as many neurodegenerative diseases do. But what and myelin, let's explain to our listeners that you have a neuron, a cell body, and then you have an extension, an axon, and then at the end you have a synapse that connects to the next neuron. And so this axon is predominantly forms the white matter. So the neuron cell bodies are in the gray matter, and the white matter is predominantly those axons. And those axons are isolated. The isolating material that allows the electromagnetic signal to travel at a sufficiently fast speed is the lipid-like material myelin. So I actually have some personal experience with this. I went through a test called QEEG with SW Loretta. So it basically measures how electromagnetic signals originated in various nodes within the brain travel throughout the brain, and in every network, the slowing down of that propagation of the signals have been detected. And as you said, in order to insert that spike, that signal, that the electromagnetic signal corresponding with a message or an action or some kind of sensory effect, you have to hit that window. You have to be ahead of the brain's own signal. And so the refractory period is in the normal brain after one signal goes through, and before the next one, it's ready for the next signal. In normal brain is only 2 milliseconds. But if you slow it down, that window opens up, and it's easier for the external signal to be inserted. This is the working model. Would you agree with that? That this model makes sense?
Oh, it makes a lot of sense, and it's also why those like yourself that have been diagnosed and studied for Havana Syndrome show mild traumatic brain injury, and I hear that all the time. And that would explain it through the EM energy. Both can cause concussion-like symptoms, as well as it progresses you to the next stage of being able to autocorrelate, biocorrelate brain print the subject or the target to insert the right frequencies in the window of opportunity.
And that window sounds very, very short, 2 milliseconds. And let's say you slow it down, okay, it's 5 milliseconds, 10 milliseconds. It's still a very short period of time. Do we have technology that works at that speed that can read and write literally in real time in these tiny little windows?
Sure. I mean, yes, if it were microwave or ultra high frequency radio waves easily done, the brain only operates at the speed of sound, while we can do much faster things with signals. But I don't know that I'm not convinced what you said is necessarily fully true. On a macro scale, if you entrain a brain through longer wavelength signals, it still will alter the natural brain signaling process. So I don't know if you have to insert it in that 2 millimeter gap, is what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
But I got to do, some more studies on it.
Right. I actually had to correct, because I responded to your message on Twitter, and I was just writing off my memory, and I thought, oh, I think the refractory period is 50 milliseconds, and then I looked it up, and it's actually only 2 milliseconds. So this time window is really important. But I understand your comment about the entrainment and synchronization with external signals. Yeah.
Something you have to consider is these weapons work at very long distances. And so the speed of light around the Earth is 1/10 of a second. That's 100 milliseconds. So for it to entrain, you would think that it would have to be a longer wavelength or some other sequence that doesn't require precise timing of 2 milliseconds root to the root and back, reading and writing. So anyway, I'll come up with a better explanation, but that's kind of where I stand now.
This is a very important conversation to have, not only for targeted individuals, for neuroscientists, and this technology obviously will change the course of neurotechnology, of psychiatry, will change the course of history, society, our understanding of free will. It's just gonna change pretty much everything. And we're on the precipice of this change, literally on the precipice.
Now we play an important role here in enlightening the population as to what we face. You know, it truly is an existential threat of our way of life and everything we believe in. And for the media to be shut down and we're told not to talk about it, and Facebook bans us or whatever, that's horrible. I mean, we're talking about everything we care about as humans. So yeah, it's a very important topic.
Yes. Another aspect of the central nervous system that we are not often mentioning in this model of around this technology is something called blood-brain barrier. And just for our listeners, this is a very specific. It's a border between the circulation and the internal brain environment that is very strictly regulated. That it only allows molecules of certain size and certain configuration to pass, certain ions to pass, certain drugs to pass. It allows nanotechnology, nanomolecules to pass that blood-brain barrier. And you can also, using directed energy and ultrasound, you can kind of shake up the blood-brain barrier and open it up for larger molecules.
That's correct.
What importance do you think it has for the modern neurotechnology, the fact that the blood-brain barrier can be opened up, can be the permeability can be modulated, and that the nanomolecules and nanomachines can cross the blood-brain barrier?
Yeah, you've given one aspect of why you want to do it is through magnetoproteins or nanotech, or I doubt they can open it up quite as far as for smart dust or something like that. But you can think of the medical uses, or at least how it would be advertised to the public, and that's we can get drugs into the brain quicker. We can, there's a variety of good uses medically, but we focus on what we know is going on in the evil uses, and we don't talk about that. I mean, if we can come up with the evil uses, they're already doing it. That's a fact.
I often wonder about these public intellectuals that talk about the cognitive liberty and cognitive privacy, and they advocate for these new laws and new rules and new ethics around this technology, but they shy away from people like us who are actually victims of the nefarious use of this technology. There's some kind of cognitive dissonance that's going on, because they're happy to discuss advances of neurotech, but once it becomes about particular individuals, human being, living, breathing fellow humans that are suffering from the dual use, nefarious use of neurotech, the conversation stops. What is it?
It becomes personalized, and then they feel responsible. In a sense, it's too much responsibility. You mean it's already happening and I didn't know? And I think they also, the TIs, many of them are considered due to conspiracy theory, the uncool kids club, and we don't want to be talking to the tinfoil hat wearers, that'll ruin our reputation. So I think there's some of that psychology going on and why they avoid it when there's so many voices crying out the same message of what's going on, but the voices are ignored, and it's just written off by a pseudoscience of psychology field, practicing psychology. But that's my take on it, Lynn.
No. One thing I would like to add, I recently ran an informal poll on Twitter, and I asked people, do you think there are social media accounts that pretend to be targeted individuals and make claims that make us look mentally off? This intentional sort of campaign to
Yeah, it's psyops.
Exactly.
Information there.
Right.
It's done, it's counterintelligence. It's done by all the agencies to try to hide secrets and the truth. And so, even lawyers do it in the courtroom. You discredit the witness, and then you go on and say their testimony can't be used. They're not in their right mind. And as soon as you call someone stupid or insane, those are discrediting words. We humans naturally think, oh, don't believe this person, don't listen to them. So we've been conditioned in that sense. The game will be played the way they're trained to play it. And we just got to come up with better ways to express our message very coherently and soundly in a simple enough format so others can understand it. And it's going to be a slow progress of understanding, but I really think by the year 2025, we will have made a milestone. And most of a certain percentage of the world's population will know these weapons exist and are being used. And then our hope is a moratorium or a new United Nations treaty will be signed, and you can't be using these weapons anymore. Now, it doesn't help those who are already damaged and whether reparations will ever be made to those people, but at least we stopped it, the suffering and the torture for future generations. And you got to feel good about that.
This has definitely become a theme of my life. I as much as I'm disappointed that I've been chosen to be a target, it gave my life meaning. I feel responsible for the millions of people around the world, and I appreciate just the overwhelming support that I receive. I never asked for it. I never asked for any publicity or to be in this position, but life chooses you, and you just have to answer the call, and that's what I did.
I'm proud of you. You stepped up to the plate. Many remain suffering in silence, and that's their choice. But more voices, louder the message, and eventually can break through what they call the 8% barrier of people who know. And then, the Pentagon says they're worried about that because then a successful revolution can occur or violence. But so they have to make sure they can blame it on another enemy or aliens. I think the new thing, the aliens are doing it to everybody. Whatever the propaganda.
Right. Whoever is the topic of the enemy of the day. I think right now, with the report made public by Washington Times, now it's China, and China has been bragging about this technology for a while, but now we have this report detailed in this Washington Times article that actually adopted this new terminology first offered by Robert McCreight, who's a an important thinker and advises NATO on the emerging technology. He offered this term NeuroStrike, which I think will replace Havana Syndrome, even though they're not exactly the same. What do you think about this term and this sort of this new Chinese revelations?
I never liked the term Havana Syndrome. That's something the news came up with because that's when some CIA agents or diplomats got attacked, with these symptoms. But it's been the public's been crying about this since pretty much the 1970s onward, even earlier than that, some of them. And so it's, to the public, it's nothing new. But when your government figures are attacked, all of a sudden it's a big deal. And it's like, this has been going on to our government even further than they'll admit it. Havana Syndrome, it's just a crappy term. It's misleading. I do like NeuroStrike. That sounds like a weapon, a neuro weapon, or set of tactics and set of technologies that attack the nervous system and the brain. So far better to start calling it NeuroStrike rather than Havana Syndrome. I agree with you fully.
Although they're not completely identical, NeuroStrike is a form of an attack. Havana Syndrome would be a medical condition. So let's say if concussion were NeuroStrike, then Havana Syndrome would be MTBI. Those are that's the framework. And we need and then we need something like NeuroStrike syndrome, or military already actually has a term for this condition. It's called UPI. It stands for unconventionally acquired brain injury, and this so the military medicine is not a stranger to NeuroStrike syndrome. It just never been.
Yeah, they're not putting the pieces of the puzzle together. The NeuroStrike can cause Havana Syndrome. You got to connect the pieces.
Right. But we'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. We'll make these important points. And I think you're right. The 8%. Where do you think we are right now? Are we at 4% awareness, 5% awareness?
I can't judge. I think we're just reaching the threshold between, depending on how the alien, hoax goes for them to slow down the spread of knowledge. But I would say we're at about 6 to 7%. And so I think we're very close.
Yeah, that's
and then a major pandemic will be planned or something, and the New World Order will take charge, and the attention will go away from these neural weapons, and maybe they'll find a cure. Elon Musk Neuralink. Oh, if you get a brain chip in your head, all of a sudden you're cured from these problems, neurological problems. So there are a lot of different chess moves they can make to try to cover their butts right now.
People do need to realize that news is a weapon. So as we are progressing in our conversation, and once things are really getting interesting and the public is paying attention, there's always some kind of news story that distracts public's attention. That's why I'm saying news is a weapon. It's a weapon of destruction. And the new war, it's a culture war. It's a whose culture will win, whose culture will dominate. So when they saying when they sign the recent book by Nita Farahi, I'm probably mispronouncing her name, the Battle for Your Brain, that's it. This is a literal meaning of the modern cognitive warfare.
Oh yeah. No, the CIA's motto and their psyops is win the hearts and minds of your enemy. You know, this is literally winning their minds or causing a heart attack if they can't. You know, electrical signals throughout the body can cause all sorts of ailments.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you bringing this all out into light, Len. You know, and this is awesome.
Yes. If we have time for one last question, and it's not really related to targeting, but it is something that I've been paying attention lately. You know who Stephen Greer is, and he is somebody who specializes in UFO subject, but he also talks about the new form of energy, which is not new. He just released a documentary called the Lost Century, and in which he talks about something called 0-point energy or quantum vacuum. It's the sort of the fabric of the universe itself, in which particles appear and disappear, and they carry electromagnetic charge and a lot of energy. So if you can tap into it, you literally have free energy for the entire planet that will solve climate problems, poverty, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think about that?
Comments about that. One, we're on the brink of nuclear fusion reactors, clean energy. So I think that's the way to go. But to the 0-point energy, while we know there's energy in space-time itself, due to the virtual particles you were talking about, the problem is if you could harness it, you're creating a new kind of pollution, and that's time pollution, time and gravity pollution. So even if you could harness it, you're going to create new problems in the future, in the past, possibly. Small ripples of time space going on. So I don't know how realistic it is and how far away we are from true 0-point energy harvesting. Something you would need to do if you wanted to do warp drive, you know, something like that. But I just haven't heard any breakthroughs yet, you know, serious breakthroughs. So I think connecting the two topics between mind control and 0-point energy is a little bit of a leap, unless these are two completely different topics.
Yeah, I agree. That I don't see direct connection, but I'm sure somehow they're related, and we just have not seen these consequences, because everything has consequences. Nothing is 100% safe. Nothing is 100% a perfect solution. So you always pay some kind of price.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
And I philosophize about order and chaos. You know, I'm not sure what we are. We're a chaotic system on the edge of order, or an ordered system on the edge of chaos. But it's like looking at clouds. Everyone sees different images in clouds. Well, that's just your image recognizers going off, but we perceive order. Well, the clouds don't perceive that. They're chaos. They're just randomly formed. So it makes you wonder if our very definition of light is just the human perception of order. I'm going a little deep there, but that's my philosophy.
But this is extremely relevant, because we all need to understand that we perceive reality in the limitations of this perception are located in the way our central nervous system is structured. So we might not be even equipped to understand the nature of reality. So yeah, this is very important. And that creates an opportunity for artificial intelligence to control our perception of reality through sensory input, through emotional input. I mean, we are walking amygdalas, we emotional animals, and we need to understand that. So yes, your comment is extremely relevant. Robert, I really enjoyed this conversation. Would you like a lot of people will follow you on Twitter now that they know that you said bye-bye to Facebook, and a lot of people look up to you as a thinker and a person who makes difference every day. The targeted individuals reach out to you. People who are interested in this cybernetic warfare reach out to you. What do you have a message for your followers and people in general?
Yeah, thank you for calling it cybernetic warfare, not cyber warfare. That's different. Cybernetic warfare, cybernetic torture. That's what it is. And so I studied the melding, the evolution of intelligence between machines, biological brains, and artificial intelligence, and try to explain to the public what's been done. This isn't futuristic technology, and aliens didn't give it to us. I want to lead with a message of hope that I do think this is going to be revealed finally by the government. Whether we say another country's been doing it the whole time, well, that's the propaganda machine. Don't know how that's going to unfold. And to hang in there. You know, if you harm anybody or yourself, you're letting them win. You know, the struggle, life wasn't meant to be easy. My family motto of Duncan means learn to suffer. So I was actually born into a clan that was their motto. So anyway, I hope to hear from you all, and you guys have a great year, month, day, however long it is.
Thank you, Robert. And thank you for being on this show. I hope we'll have more opportunities to talk in the future and have some really good news for all the people who are suffering from this inhumane technology. Thank you very much, Robert. Have a good day.